the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Welcome back to the program. I was online and came across a ton of data last week that was peer-reviewed, and I was really struck by the findings. You know, I'm around a lot of women who got married more so later in their 20s or in their 30s. And the fear-mongering from their peers and the medical community surrounding the words geriatric mom has been so significant. And as a Catholic, as a pro-life woman, I cringe hearing the words geriatric mom. And I also look, and I've seen a lot of women who have been blessed to have children in their mid-30s, late 30s, even into their 40s, who are great and thriving health-wise. And I have women who have said to me, and I just kind of laugh at this when it's been said to me a couple times recently, like, are you afraid of being a geriatric mom? I'm like, well, first of all, I am a mom because my babies are here. I'm going to be 33 this year. And the fact that people start to like push back the dial even further. So technically a geriatric mom is someone who I guess in the medical community is considered 35 or older. But here's what I saw in the research that no one is talking about. The fact that this fear-mongering that intrinsically for me as a Catholic and a pro-life woman really rubbed me wrong, but I didn't quite have the data other than just looking around seeing that women who have children at an older age still do great. Like, I don't have any proof to really see that this whole geriatric mom scare is a very legitimate fear and a reason for why we should be telling people not to have kids and scare them out of having kids. I can think of almost 10 people right now who will not have more children starting pretty early into their 30s because they have been frightened out of having more kids. And these are people who are Catholic and pro-life, but who have been convinced as such and are taking Catholic, non-Catholic means to prevent having kids. That's a whole nother topic in and of itself. So here's the data. You hear arguments, people say, don't have too many kids. Don't have them too close together. You're too old. You're too young. You'll be a geriatric mom. Let's start with and maybe this is all we'll dive into today, the geriatric mom side of it, the fear-mongering. So fascinating. I was looking at the research, and there are ongoing studies being released in association between older maternal age at last childbirth and how long the woman lives. 3 studies today that I'll just mention. One in 2015 found that a significant association for older maternal age, that is giving birth to last child beyond the age of 33, that there are greater odds for surviving to an unusually old age. Second study, and a lot of these are being published in like books for women who are like getting into their perimenopausal years or menopause, saying like, hey, here are some positive things to say as you're in this transition and you're in a menopause. You've had this loss of potency for motherhood. You're in this crazy hormonal shift in terms of where you're at in life. And all of this research is being published and pushed just to those who are in their menopausal years. They're being released in all of these peer-reviewed magazines, but they're being promoted to a different age group. And here's what another study said, that telomere length is longer in women with late maternal age. This one was published in 2017. So what are telomeres? Telomeres are types of protective cap ends at the end of your DNA strand. What they do is they keep your chromosomes safe. They're a key part of our cells, and they play a pivotal role in how we age. In particular, when you are a mom, a quote-unquote geriatric mom, a woman who gave birth later, after the age of 35 even, what the study suggests is that there's a stronger protection for the end caps of your DNA, protecting the chromosomes that are helping in anti-aging, suggesting that older maternal age at last childbirth may be a marker for longevity. An even more recent study from 2020 found the same finding for an even later maternal age for those women who are having children after and over the age of 40. The bottom line is that these studies are showing the genetic basis for the relationship between reproductive lifespan and longevity for mom, in particular when you have babies later in life. Now, not to say that there are only benefits if you have babies later, but what it's saying is it's disproving the insanity of how I am seeing all of my peers being frightened out of having children in their early 30s, in their mid 30s, in their late 30s, and into their 40s. I have a dear friend. She's 45. Has had multiple children in her late 30s and early 40s. And she's always saying, don't listen to the mantra of the medical community that is so pro-abortion. If I listened to them, I would have no babies. She said, I'm healthier than I ever have been, and I've had 3 babies surrounding my 40s. So these arguments that you're too young, you're too old, they're too close together. So many of these arguments are truly centered on the false pro-abortion narrative that is so anti-life and so contrary to our Catholic faith. You know, the very first commandment that God gives Adam and Eve is be fruitful and multiply. And there are seasons where it can be hard to have children. For medical reasons, for socioeconomic reasons. And this is why we have a great teaching of the Catholic Church. We have documents such as Humanae Vitae that St. Pope Paul VI wrote back in the 1960s. And he discusses responsible parenthood and how perhaps for a grave reason, there may be a need to abstain in marital relationships for the sake of waiting because of due circumstances that the couple has mutually discerned together and have actually even received guidance on those reasons. And that at the end of the day, it's the couple who's culpable before God for how fruitful they were or were not. Now, this is a deeply personal and individual topic, but we live in a culture that is so anti-life and that has really flooded its way into ideologies about scaring women out of having kids. And so I really enjoyed seeing all of this data compiling, just breaking that false narrative of geriatric parents, of geriatric moms, and building up the reality that babies help you live longer, even when you have them older.
Like what you just heard? Share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.